Super. Council was the 11th of September.
Good evening, members of the public, councillors. Welcome and apologies.
Apologies. Sorry, I'll prepare for that. I've had Councillor Masters can't make it tonight. Councillor Masters can't make it tonight. She's got another meeting, and also Councillor Buck, she can't make it, and also Councillor Harker can't be here tonight.
Oh, Lipia, what?
Councillor Lipia, yeah. And I think
David?
Yeah, Councillor Susan Bagshaw, we've got a bit of an injury in the family.
Robert?
Councillor Peter Lippiat is more very ill.
oh right. Yeah, but
Don't say how are you? All right, maybe.
Yeah.
okay, sorry about that. Yeah. Prayers now.
Press? We all get.
Father, we pray for our town, for all who live and work in this place. We thank you for the many blessings we see, but also aware of the many problems we face. And ask your wisdom and discernment on this council as they discuss various matters relating to the town tonight. So we ask your blessing in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Declarations of interest. Robert?
When we come to the grants, if we go into speaking the individual items, anything to do with the Rockstone Women's Project, I declare personal interest as my wife is trustee.
David?
Yeah, similar grants, volunteer bureau. Susan actually runs a volunteer bureau.
Tony?
Same bordering colours.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, yeah. Okay. Notifications of lobbying.
Sweet.
Only applies to items on the agenda.
Sweet.
No. To receive and consider adopting as a true and accurate record of the following minutes. Town Council meeting 10th of July 2017.
Now, Mr. Mayor, can I just say that about 2 years ago I was thrown out of here, or when we were there before, because I dared to try and move amendments to minutes of the meeting. It's been brought in that minutes had to be, any amendments had to be notified to the town clerk by the previous Friday. Well, I've not used that system until I tried last Friday, and the town clerk was on holiday until today, probably a normal day off, and the RFO swanning about the Med somewhere on a cruise. So we're paying him too much, I know that. But I think this does want looking at again, because when senior members of staff are absent, we can't put these things forward. And so I would suggest that that be put on the agenda for the next meeting. As I say, I took a hit and I was thrown out of the meeting. I went actually and catalogued some stamps, which gave me 2 hours, which I didn't have before. But I certainly think that we need to look at it again. It was something later on this agenda that I wanted to tackle the RFO about, but I will mention that at a later date.
Okay.
Just quite similar. I wanted to make some notification within the minutes of lack of accuracy, and therefore I can't support the minutes this evening.
May I just say, Mr. Mayor, that it was agreed by this council that minutes would be prepared without the members. I think we gave 7 working days for this to happen. And this isn't happening because the meeting we're talking about took place 2 months ago, and the minutes arrived on Monday or Tuesday of last week. So that's not happening, it's got to happen.
They were prepared on time.
You know, it's been happening for a long time. And it must happen.
Okay, noted.
Well, they were prepared, obviously, at least 6 weeks ago, they were prepared, definitely, very quickly.
So, okay then, perhaps in
Yeah.
future then, if we have
Just
a
need-
break,
Yeah.
meeting break, then
Yeah.
the meetings from that, the minutes should be probably sent out
Yeah.
prior to
Yeah.
that.
If what he's saying is true, if they're prepared 6 weeks ago, when we would have had all these minutes in mind and what we wanted to talk about, should we not be giving somebody a letter for incompetence?
It's just that I haven't got the okay to send them out.
Okay, point taken, understand what both of you are saying, we'll rectify that, and as I said, if there's any, where we have a break, the minutes are written, then there will be...
Very quickly, Chair, while we're on the subject then, if you can rectify that, can you rectify that the personnel minutes should be coming out, because I think they've even gone longer?
Yeah.
And again, does it warrant somebody having a letter of reprimand? In my eyes, it does.
You sort them.
I'm working on them, yeah. We've got about 7 or 8 minutes
Yeah.
to do. I'm well on with them.
Okay, so anybody else on the minutes? And therefore can we take a vote whether that is a true and accurate recording of the following minutes? Can we vote? Everybody for? Against? No vote sure.
Can we record the time and abstention because I wasn't present?
Any abstentions? Yeah. Now to a very interesting part of the evening. This young man, floor is yours, sir. It's entirely up to you. If members of the public can hear you, you can stay seated, but if you want to stand, you can stand.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm PSSO Chris Cupid, one of the Eastwood PSSOs for Eastwood. I've been sent a report to give from my Inspector Reg, in relation to the recorded crime year to date as of the 8th of September this year, in comparison to the same period last year. All crimes, last year was 796, this year it's 950, which is an increase of 154 crimes. Those broken down over the 5 offence types that I've been given. Burglary is down by 12 crimes, which is down from 83 to 71. Theft offences is up to 103, which is up from 71 last year, which is an increase of 32. Vehicle offences, which is theft of and theft from motor vehicle, that is up to 75 from 60, which is an increase of 15 crimes over the year to date. Public order offences, which include violence offences, is up from 14 to 55, which is an increase of 41 offences. Sexual offences, again, is increased from 14 up to 26, which is an increase of 12. In relation to, so over the last few weeks, we have executed a number of warrants, I think it's 5 warrants over the last few weeks, which has resulted in recovery of firearms, drugs, and also 3 arrests for different matters. I know, so going back to the figures, I know it doesn't make a great deal. Obviously, we've got 154 crimes in total. The other side positive in that is the fact that burglary offences are down. We, the North Police and the local authority, have been investing some time and some funding in relation to reducing those offences over the last 3 or 4 months. So hopefully that is reflected in that figure. As of 2 months ago, our inspector has been released in a blog on the Nottinghamshire Police website. He updated it last week, and again, this is where I said the 5 warrants were executed in Eastwood, which again resulted in the recovery of firearms, drugs, and the arrests. Has anybody got any questions?
Yeah, can I congratulate you for being brave enough to come and sit there and read out some disgusting figures? And I presume people around here are absolutely amazed what you just said. It does appear to me, and I say this with no happiness, it appears that crime is getting away from the police in Eastwood. We have gone through periods where there is reductions and constant reductions. Here, you've probably got one which is a heinous crime. I'll admit it's burglary, it's the most heinous crime I know of. But the rest, and increasing by 154 in one of them. I just don't know how you're going to tackle it. I do see in the paper that this new chief constable is at last employing or touting for new members, whichever he gets. But I find it incredulous that you have to come and sit here and tell members of the Eastwood public, who will hopefully pass it on, that you're not doing a good job. In so much as that, I'm not talking personally, I'm talking as a rule, as an overall, you're not doing a good job because you're not getting rid of crime. What we used to have, and I've just been passed a note to that fact, we used to have it split between the north and south. Have you got those figures, or have you just got a cumulative figure? So that's Eastwood as a whole.
Yes.
Right, okay. It would have been nice to know where it's happening. But as I say, I just cannot believe that we've got to this state. And I was watching this wonderful bike ride through Eastwood the other day, and wonder it was. And I was totally amazed that these guys could pedal up Nottingham Mansfield Road without even taking a breath, which I couldn't do. But I had to say that when I looked at it, there must have been at least 40, I've never counted, I ought to count them, outriders, coppers, on motorbikes, pipping hooting, flashing lights, stopping people, moving on. And you come up with this? And we could afford to put about 40 outriders for this bike ride. Doesn't make sense to me. I just have to leave. And can I ask, as my closing little question, what are you doing about it?
As I covered in that little bit, we have been working with Roxwood Council to try and reduce the number of burglaries, which has helped loads of things.
Well, I have to say, I'm going to start on a Broxton Borough Council, and I've never really talked to me, so I don't know who you're talking
Right,
to.
okay. First, we've been liaising with Joy Bouchy.
Who?
So, Joy Bouchy. So, we are partnership working in that to try and also reduce the amount of burglaries we're having. To target, obviously, at the beginning of the year, we had a lot of trades vehicles that were attacked and broken into in Eastwood, which has obviously affected the figures hugely. that's not as prevalent at the moment. It still occurs, but not as many as we were having a couple of months ago. It's just about a lot of what we're doing is, say, educating. It's getting the crime reduction message across to the homeowners and the vehicle owners and stuff. And on our website, National Police website, we have crime reduction materials that people can go on and look at and take, pinch ideas from, and you can even print them off if you wish and peruse them at your leisure. A lot of it is common sense stuff, but a lot of what we're doing is that sort of stuff just recently. But then there's obviously our high-vis patrols and stuff that we do, targeted areas that are causing problems.
Again, worst have to tell you, I'm the ex-crime reduction manager for Notts Police. So, I know what we should be doing, and we have to put some money into it to do it. We have to talk about, and we've done it before, and we've gone around opening doors, locks, put cameras up, all sorts. We have to be much more proactive than it appears. It appears from them figures that you're only being reactive, and I think we need to see, and everybody will, I'm sure, agree to this. We need to see coppers on streets, not in cars, not on motorbikes. We need to see them going round to our areas where we know there's problems, knocking on doors and taking the thieves away, the bad lads, and putting them away. Some have already gone away for a nice holiday with Their Majesty. I appreciate that, but there's a lot more that haven't, and your figures are telling me that's not the case. So I hate to say it, but it appears you ain't doing a good job.
Charlie?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I follow on the point David made about the bike race. My thoughts were entirely different, because I drove down Nottingham Road and parked up, and I saw more coppers that day than I've ever seen before in Eastwood. Now, if we can do that for a bike race, we should be able to do it to stop the squirts and all the thieves and whatever that wander around, the drug addicts, get drugs off the street. You should be able, if you provide the manpower for a bike race, which lasted, 30 seconds going through town?
14
You can
minutes.
do it for the ordinary member of the public every day of the year.
Hey, could I just jump in here? When we opened the new police station next door and upstairs, we were told that you were going to be recruiting officers. Allegedly, Notts Police are currently recruiting 150 more officers. How many of these officers are going to be based in Eastwood?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
To be fair, Chair, he won't know that answer.
I don't know.
No, come on, that's not a fair
No,
question
it's
to
not
him.
fair,
He's standing
but-
there to be shot at.
But you can take this back to Inspector Ragg. Because Inspector Ragg has been quoted as saying there'll be one allocated new PCSO for Eastwood out of 150.
Right.
So that should be really a bit more, as all our crime figures have gone up exceptionally. So surely one new officer is not really sufficient. Andrea?
I'd just like to say what Mr Bagshaw said. I think you're very brave coming down and giving out these figures. And just a quick question, do the police think that it's homegrown criminals that are committing the offences, or do you think it's people coming into the area?
It's a mixture.
A mixture?
Yeah. It's a mixture. We do get travelling criminals. Even in police, we do get travelling criminals. We're not a million miles away from junction 27 and 26.
Yeah.
These travelling criminals use that as it's a corridorism for them, and they come off different junctions and attack certain areas of lethal or not.
And
Might
with it being like tools and things that are being
Yes.
targeted, it makes you wonder whether they've seen the people, followed them in, and seen, and whether that's.
It's possible, but sometimes they'll target an area. I mean, we've seen them from Birmingham and Yorkshire.
Well, they do the tags, don't they? Where they tag it.
And
Around.
you know, like I said, they'll come for a couple of nights and then they'll go. And then, you know, it's just, it's difficult. You know, it's difficult to mention that, but they're quite clearly using vehicles because of what they're taking from the
Yes.
Yeah.
David?
Yeah,
Sorry, Chris.
just as an aside, and I've always said that the people of Eastwood should help the police, and I'm still have that thought solely in my mind that we should. So I'm going to give you a little bit of from myself on Hall Park.
Yeah.
There's a guy comes on there now, and it was 9:30 in the morning. Apparently, that's what had been reported to me on a moped. He goes down to the changing rooms, and they some lads come up from t'other way, and they do quite a bit of drug dealing, and I think it's quite prevalent around there at the moment. So if you could keep your eye on that, that'd be good.
Yeah. So, I don't suppose you've got a day, or is it varied days or specific days?
It just seems to be more than once a week, and whether it is or not, if you start wandering down there at 9:30 and or 9ish, and just have a look round yourselves, I'm sure that will solve the problem.
Yeah. And on that note, we do encourage, obviously, we encourage the community to come forward with intelligence. As we say, people that live in those areas are there 24/7. Ourselves, we work in Eastwood, we travel in, work our shift, and then we go home out of the area. So the information we need is from the people that live in those areas, and they can give us that information. And I encourage anybody. All information can be given anonymous. You don't have to give details. They can go through Crime Stoppers, and then all you give them then is a reference number. Like I say, to ourselves, you can call in on 101, which is a non-emergency number. And again, like I say, you don't have to give name, address, or telephone number. All we want is the information of what's happening. If known, who's responsible for it. If it involves vehicles, any registration numbers or anything like that, that's the information that we need that then we can act upon. And like I say, we encourage people, the community to come forward to us with the information.
Just one more question. I know you get a bit fed up on it now.
No.
The one thing that worries me is this violent crime.
Yeah.
If it's up 55,
Yeah.
what sort of violent crime are we talking about? Is it knives or guns or just beatings or?
So I know I've heard somewhere in here that inspectors put in. I do apologise. There's a sentence on here that's come from my inspector Wright. It's public order offences and sexual offences. Apparently he's spoken about previously. I don't know. And a large proportion of this recording of offences are owing to changes in recording practices. And additional crime types being made recordable offences. If I'm honest, I don't know what that is, because obviously that is possibly
That's fair comment.
so I can feed that back to Inspector Valley. Said any questions I can't answer, I need to feed back, and then he'll get in touch.
Do you think any of it's drug related?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of it will be that some of them haven't paid the debts. That's
Yeah.
But that's not obviously that's not all of it. But yeah, some of it will be.
But that's where it's happening within their own little cliche.
A lot of the time.
There's one question.
Yes.
On our end, some of the residents was noticing drug dealing on the little park at back there between Wellington Street and Almond Street.
and the concrete tarmac area.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
cycled there. Some of the residents took some video recordings of them.
Right.
They phoned Crime Stoppers, and the information they got off Crime Stoppers was, it's not our problem, it's the council's problem.
From Crime Stoppers.
Yeah. And they actually got in touch with, I know who they got in touch with, but nobody ever appeared around that area to have a look at it and sort it out.
And they've still got the videos, you know.
I don't know whether they still got them or not, but we took photographs of them dealing and shooting up. And
Well, if they have, suggest that
yeah,
you get them.
I've asked
They
them to
don't
do
want
that.
to, and possibly these guys, I'm sure
Well,
these
I was
guys.
waiting for the police to come round and I was going to show them the videos and the photographs,
Yeah.
but nobody's ever turned it on.
And was that, so you,
That's a few weeks ago.
right, and that was reported to ourselves of Crime Stoppers?
We reported to yourselves and Crime Stoppers, and nobody ever turned up.
Right.
David?
Yeah, I'm going to come in on that. When we opened the new police station upstairs here, we had the chief constable who came down to do the deed, and in conversation I talked to him about similar occasions, and we know where it's at, 200 yard away, and the lack of policemen getting off the bum and walking over and seeing it. He was absolutely astonished and said it won't happen on my watch. So I think then we'd better inform the chief constable, because start with the organ grinder, go up to him and tell him what's happened. This is the first instance and it's not happening, and let's see what response we get.
Okay, just make a note of that, please.
And we'd like a reply from them.
We would, yeah.
Anybody else for questions? Come on. Yep.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Until a few years ago, I was quite naive as to the amount of illegal substances that have been used in this area. And it's quite common now that most people you speak to say, yes, it's happening where I am. And my answer to them, well, have you reported it, like the officer said. Last Wednesday, I was driving back home, 4:15 in the afternoon, down Manor Road and Webster Avenue. Parked about a yard from the pavement, pointing in the direction in which I was coming from. There's a big, very large car, practically in the middle of the road. And there, on all four windows, was passing envelopes or whatever. The reason I know that is because there's a car coming the other way and we both had to stop. And I'm right at the side of them, and they still didn't bother. Now that was at 4:15 in an afternoon. Now I believe now, Mr. Mayor, officer, that now they don't bother. They know that there's not enough of you around. So what I did, I reported it to 101. Yeah? But what I did then, very foolishly according to my family, I went asking people in the area, and they said, yes, it's happening quite a few afternoons, round Webster, round Manor, on the Twitcher, which I call it, opposite me. So it frightens me that I witnessed that, and it brought reality to me, that at 4:15 in the afternoon, but they didn't wind the windows up and stop, and it shook me, and it still has shook me, because we, the public, to endorse what the council's been saying here, is getting worse, and everybody, well, and people you talk, yes, I'm seeing it. Now, if the public are seeing it, and they know there's nothing being done about it, they're frightened, and that's the reason the crime rate's up, because the illegal substances are having to be fed by their habit is having to be fed by breaking into homes, breaking into cars. Now, that's on Webster Avenue, 4:15 in the afternoon. And that frightens me.
When you spoke to these people on Webster Avenue, the streets, did you advise them to ring 101?
Yes, of course.
How many of those people have actually rang 101? I bet not many.
I mean, quite honestly, the reaction I got, well, you know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Yeah.
Not me, please, you do it. I said, I've already done it.
You can,
Why
ring,
don't
you can ring 101, Chris will back out here, you can ring 101. You don't leave your number, you don't have to leave your name, you don't have to leave any. Unless we, as a community, start reporting these things and letting these guys know they can't act.
But all these councillors I can see from their people around them,
Yeah.
it's not just Webster Avenue
And
and Lawrence Avenue.
it's widespread, Brian.
It's
I agree.
widespread. And I say, I was naive. I didn't think it was as bad. But they didn't stop. They didn't stop when I got alongside them. And I saw them passing. That frightened me.
But we, as councillors and public, have got to work with these guys. Unless we work with these guys, unless we give them the information and the ammunition, their hands are tied.
Yes,
You can't prosecute somebody if you've got nothing against them.
But it isn't just an isolated
No, it
case
isn't.
now.
It isn't. They know
It's a
this.
cancer. It's a cancer in the town.
Yeah, we know it's blatant. You know, like you just said, you know, they a lot of the time, or a lot of them, can't bother to seize them. But without the information, I say, without the registration numbers or the names of the people involved, we can patrol the areas. Whether we hit the area at the right time is sometimes, you know, hit and miss. Well, a lot of time hit and miss.
To be quite honest with you, I was only 150, 200 yards away from home.
Yeah.
And I parked up, and I'll tell you now, I started to walk back. And I thought, and I'm frightened, I thought, I'm going to take his number. So he, see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're quite right.
Took his number.
Yeah,
You're quite right.
absolutely.
You shouldn't
Just
put
to add on to
yourself at
that,
risk.
just add on the closer. When I say we encourage, you know, we need these registration and stuff, we don't want the community to put themselves at any risk to get this information. If you can't get it, then fair enough. But if it's possible and feasible, without putting yourselves at any risk, then that, you know, that's the ideal information
But would then, give me what you name, would those number plates be, do they switch them?
Some do. Some are silly enough to use their own vehicles as well. So, and even if they are switched number plates, they might be used in other crimes. So they may still, you know, be of relevance into something else as well.
And I would say the clients that they was giving them to, it's a question if they be 14 and 15 years old.
Yeah.
That's how old it was.
Yeah.
Can I just go back to the question I asked you about the reporting? These people were reported
Yeah.
the incidents and that.
Yeah.
Their reaction now is, well, why they get in touch with the police? Because they don't react.
Yeah.
So this is what's happening with your people now. Nobody wants to get in touch with it, but nobody turns up. I know you're low staffed and everything, Carl's, and you're pushed, but that's their reaction.
Well, we are going to.
Nobody reports it because nobody will come down.
We are going to follow that up. Chris is going to write a letter to the chief constable, as David said, he did say that. Obviously, I didn't say it. So we will send him the information. We will send him the information to Brian, just give it. Chris, we will send him up, this is what's happening. And see what he does from that. Charlie?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. My wife and I saw deals going down on the Hollies, and this was before it was resurfaced. Car numbers and everything were given to a policeman friend of ours, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. And it wasn't followed through.
So, can I just on that? A lot of the intelligence that we get, even when we don't find out what happens with it. You know, it goes above the East. I mean, no, a lot of it goes towards the Eastwood. You know, it goes and gets fed into our intelligence system and our intelligence unit. It was then they'll either work on it to broaden it with more information, or they'll pass it out to other units or teams to look at. You know, we have plain clothes officers, we have plain vehicles and stuff. So, and I take on what you're saying about, you know, the person that's got the footage and you know, what he's saying is not in good state. I take that back. But like I say, a lot of the information we put in, there'll be stuff going on with it that we, like I say, we're not even aware of. So again, I encourage you to report it. So I say that's how we get and get how things get developed.
Can I just make these two last questions, because I've got a feeling you're getting hammered and you don't really need to be. You're here. Thanks. Tony?
I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm just getting my opinion here. Not everybody's probably going to agree with me. You might not like what I'm going to say, but that's to you. I feel, you know, you've got the crime that's gone up, this actual bodily harm and all that, and I think, in my opinion, because I go around Eastwood and I live in Eastwood, I've lived in Eastwood for a long time, I don't hear of many fights. Now, I wouldn't normally hear of fights, and you used to hear them out in pubs and all sorts. You don't hear of fights now. Now, what I think it is, your drug dealers that's doing the fighting. This is where your crimes are going up. Yes. I feel him that's supplying is not getting his money. So then when we ringing you up, yes, that's smart. When we ringing you up, you're thinking, no way we going there. Let them kill each other, and then we'll go. And that's what I think you're doing. I do honestly, because he ain't getting his money, and they're going to start bragging about just been fighting on the drugs, are they? And that's my opinion.
Hopefully they might kill each other and then
So what's the truth in that?
I think this young chap's stuck enough.
Yes, I do.
But I think we ought to get this. Is he a figment of our imagination, this Inspector Rag? Or is it because
No, it's been here twice.
well, you know, because you all seem to send you poor suckers,
Yes, he does.
you know, to be hacked to pieces. And I think that it should be made, or at least requested, that he attends these meetings and does it himself.
Well, he does attend.
Chair.
Hang on, David. He does attend the Eastwood South focus group meeting.
Yeah, but that's not a council meeting.
But that's in the afternoon.
And just thank the
Just one more, Dave.
Yeah, I'm just going to go that. I think we have to say,
Yeah.
well done and thank you to PCSO
Yes.
Cupid. He's actually been brave enough to come and sit here and have all this thrown at him. But it's not directed personally at him. It's on about the police, and leading from this, he should be going back and say we need somebody there every month when they have a meeting. And from these minutes, because we have recorded them, we can put this, all this information that people have asked him and all the wrongs, we can put it together and send them to Inspector Rag, and ask him what he's going to do about it. And if he doesn't give you a satisfactory answer, go to the new man. Simple as that. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. I must apologise for my question, I was a bit harsh.
Can I now go, because there's a long way to go. It's a long way to go.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Cheers, Paul.
That's why superiors send them and not call themselves.
I know. Go back to that.
Because it stands everybody else to get some shit, doesn't it? This is unfortunate.
Item 7, from the last meeting, Eastwood, item 1, Eastwood Cricket Club renaming. We have had some talks with Eastwood Cricket, members of the Eastwood Cricket Club, and they've asked for our help as well. So we are in a process of getting permission through Rockstow, because the cricket club is actually owned, the building is owned by Rockstow, to rename it. Once we have that authority to do that, we will be with the cricket club and we'll rename it.
What's it in need of? What do you want to rename it for?
Big Gregory. It's going to be called the Bill Gregory Pavilion. Just be a wooden plaque or carving or plaque of some description just to change.
Remembering that we have to have an equal platform to work off, we refuse to name this the Hale or Braithwaite Hall. So, you know, we need to look at ourselves and make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Well, that was not only a request from us, that was a request from other people. So,
From Verkivoki, so it was for the other resident who was renowned in the town.
but that is what's happening. Change to allocation of grants. I would like to see this changed so that any successful application is given the same. So all the grants, all the amounts to each grant application is the same across the board. So we haven't got no differential because they're all as good and as bad as one another. So they all deserve an equal amount of money.
Can you expand on that? Because I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying. Can you expand on what you're trying to say?
What I'm trying to say is that we've got a pot of money, we've got X amount of applications which meet the criteria, and those applications will get an equal share of that pot.
I disagree.
Fine.
Yeah. So some of these people that are on here are inaugural to the town and very important to the town, and that's why we've always given them extra funding.
I can understand what you're saying, but if you
Well, obviously you don't.
But if you talk to every group, they'll tell you the same. Charlie?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that you, with deference to you, should go away and read section 137. And then you may come back to us with a different outlook on this, because section 137 says that grants should only be given to those members of the community that will benefit the most, and those organisations that benefit the community most. And looking through these tonight, there's certainly 2 or 3 I've marked down that are of no benefit whatsoever to this community. You know, where they've got probably 15 members and only 4 come from Eastwood. That doesn't class, certainly as far as the Act is concerned, as a benefit to the larger section of the community. So I suggest that this be taken away. Everybody reads section 137, comes back with a lot clearer mind on what it says, and then bring it back to us, because that is the only way forward on this.
Okay.
And quite honestly, I mean, that was one of the first things I did, was read the Act and especially section 137, because when giving out grants, we have to be very careful. It's public money. 137 says, for instance, that we can, if we wish, give grants to national organisations such as cancer research, but we haven't done for several years because 1 or 2 members complained about it. It goes on to say that we can't give grants to individual members. You know, like we probably have a young lady or a young man excellent at swimming, being selected to represent England in some games, some European games, whatever, and they come to us and ask for a grant. And much as we'd like to, we can't. I would much rather councillors sat around, let's say, well, it's out and stick 20 quid a piece on the table for people like that. I'd certainly do it. But we can't, as a council, give anybody like that a grant from 137. So there are a lot of pitfalls on 137. So don't throw it out and say, oh yeah, let's give everybody the same, because everybody's not the same. Not the same. I mean, they're not liable for certain things. But others, I mean, some organisations like Josie's not here tonight, Age Concern, the EVB, do a lot more good for people in town than some of the little organisations that have 20 or 30 members and meet once a week or once a month.
Exactly.
Far better work done by Age Concern and the EVB and some of the others. And there's one of you know I'm
Yeah,
quite
fine.
Yeah.
fine.
adamant about it is what the one that Bob's wife supports, in as much as that's a limited company, which we shouldn't, I don't think, be giving money to limited companies.
Okay. Chris, could you,
Yeah, they know that. They know that.
could you get a copy, please? Okay, thank you. Questions and statements from them? Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. I forgot this in mind. When we do the grants, instead of having a evening here, I think it'd be rather nice if some of us, all of us, or whatever, go to the actual place, wherever, then they actually present the cheques to the actual group while they're actually doing whatever they do, so we can see what they do, instead of everybody coming here and just having like the one evening we'll go, or I'll go to the actual wherever it is, and present the cheque that way.
So how do you get a group photograph of all the people of Eastwood who's done good for the community together in the paper, if you're going around singularly? Do you start to digitalise them and put them in a digital display in the paper?
We got criticised at the last meeting for having this place too full of these people who don't come to council meetings, at all, and just turn up on that now.
Yeah, well, they're probably too busy doing what they do for their own group. Why do they come here if they've got other intentions?
Why should Eastwood Town be any different to Broxdale and County Council?
Okay, guys.
I'm
not getting into an
Because
argument
we're
about
looking after the people of
that.
Eastwood.
I'm not getting into an argument about that. It's not the time or place for that. So we'll move on. Item 8. Questions and statements from the member of the public. Could you please try and keep these as brief as your questions as brief as possible so we can get more in, please. Colin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It has been requested by the council that we do not raise any allotment questions tonight.
Yeah.
That you are going to organise a separate meeting for this.
That is quite correct.
Have you arranged a meeting?
We are still waiting for water companies' bill. The reason that we've been chasing them, and the reason there is a delay in them giving us their bill, is that their computer system has stopped that, because the leap from what it has been over the last 2 or 3 years, an average, it's gone up a massive amount. So I'm sorry, madam, but this is the answer we've been given from the water company. Let me finish. Please. They are in a process of sorting that out. And once they've sorted that out, they will give us that bill. When we have that bill, we, as a council, and Chris, will organise a meeting with council representatives and members of the public who have an allotment on that.
This is not quite straightforward. We will not have a final bill until I turn the water off to the council permission. Now, on September the 1st, we are 19.3 cubic metres below the 6-year average. Now, whoever the mathematician is, or statistician, that puts a notice on our board that we are 240% increase, can't go back to school. These are totally untrue figures. You are intimidating the allotment holders.
Sorry, sir. You asked me, and I'll give you an answer. The answer is, when we get that bill, we will organise a meeting with allotment holders, etc., etc. Until we've got that bill, we haven't got all the information. So the questions, I answer you. So until we get that bill, don't really want to get into a debate on allotment, because it's unfair on us, it's unfair on you guys.
Well, let me say, Mr. Chair, my letter from Severn Trent states that I am paid 151.93 pence per cubic metre. And the water we've used so far this year, if you are paying the same rates as domestic users, will be around £400. Out of £1,800 rent, you are squandering £1,200 on mine grass.
Colin,
Crops
please.
will grow with grass round them, they will not grow without water.
Colin, please. Let's not get into right debate about this. We're going to be here all night, backwards and forwards. I've stated that once we get this bill, we will have this meeting. We will have this meeting. But until we've got all the information, we're just going to backwards and forwards. We're not going to get any gain out of it.
Know how much you pay for the water.
Until we get the bill, no. Well, probably do, but I haven't got that information in front of me.
Well, I've got it.
We've got it here, haven't we?
Because
Susan's
I've
now.
paid about £400 for a long time.
Look at their water usage for the last 7 years. If you want to pass it around the table, it clearly shows there's been less usage this year than if there has for the last.
According to the water company, the reason we haven't got this information is because that average water usage has jumped sky high. And it's,
It does not jump, Mr. Mayor.
according to the water company, I'm not the water company, I do not know. So I can't answer your question. Please, let us get the information, then we'll have a meeting with you.
The water company will only tell you how much a cubic metre you're paying. They will not tell you. Chris has got all the figures. I read Chris every month. I've got a stop in the shop, I've got one in the cabin. And until we turn the water off,
Alright,
you will not get a final figure to work to. And if these are
I'm not going to. Let's stop this here. I don't really want to get into any arguments over allotments. There's a couple of guys here sticking their hands up. Bob, you were first.
Basically, once we get the bill, we need to ask the water company to actually calibrate the water meter to see if it actually have used that amount of water, and before investigation needs to be taken on. Now, I believe the water company have gone and done their own due diligence.
Well, until we get that information,
Well,
there's
we need the
absolutely
information
nothing
from the
we
water
can
company.
do.
We haven't got it. Let's find out what's going on.
David.
Chair, as a labourer on an allotment, not an allotment owner, I'm quite amazed at, well, I was just going to say this demagogue attitude. The allotment holders are up in arms. Colin Walker and another, we give them full authority to look at this water. So he's the guy that we should be listening to. And when I down, all the allotment holders are pointing, and there's notes going off. You can't let it drag. You have to get to these people and tell them where we're at. Even if it's only an interim, you've got to listen to these people, because you're going to cause that much friction. It's going to be a problem.
We are listening to the people. We've listened to what Colin said. We've listened to this.
Well, Colin said it's not 240%.
But until we get the information from the water company, who are the one who bills us, what can I do? What can we do? We can't do anything unless then once we get there, we can then sit with these people. And we,
Yes.
well, the allotment holders. Okay,
Yes,
I'm sorry, no, the allotment holders.
It's not totally can I just say something, please? Because being a member of the board, I think I'm allowed a few minutes. That we have had a rocky relationship with the council over a couple of incidents that happened many, many years ago. And, okay, on allotments, you see life. There are loads and loads of different types of people on our allotments in Eastwood, and they are extremely valuable places. They're valuable in all kinds of ways. You can say they're valuable for wildlife, they're valuable for the mental health of people who are working there, and also for the fact that when you have an allotment, you can choose to grow organically and raise food for your families. And this has all been extremely upsetting, and we all take it very much to heart, the fact that you are saying now, oh, let's wait for the water company. Okay, but one of the reasons why I think the water company have done a bit of a change, and this does not affect what the figures are telling us, is that they've put the council water on the allotment, as they have done with all business premises, onto Water Plus, which could be why they're stalling over the bill. This could have something to do with it. But if you think of 240%, that is a heck of an amount. And when we have thought about this, even before we got the figures for ourselves, we thought, how could this possibly have happened? Unless there were leaks on all the taps. That is an immense number, a huge, huge increase. And I would just like to say that, first of all, we have got the correct figures. We have got the correct figures from the meter. I'm questioning whether the council have misunderstood what the water company have told them when asking for the bill, as I know Mr Thompson, the town clerk, has done, because he felt it was overdue. And he's sort of assumed, perhaps not having been told this directly, but assumed, perhaps mistakenly, that it's because the bill is sky high. And I would say that it isn't. That cannot be, because we have the figures. Now, you've all shouted down Colin, but Colin has those figures. So has Dave. On the allotment notice board, should you care to go and see, there are letters, there are graphs that people have made to show how the water compares with previous year's usage. There is a lot of information there, but we have those figures. And if you, as a householder, are given a bill which you feel is wrong, you know, you're going to approach the company that you've been given that bill wrong. And we hope that instead of doubting us, that you will in fact back us to the hilt. Back us to the hilt, give us some support. Don't threaten us with extra rate increases, because that is one sure way of clearing those allotments of people who genuinely need that experience. I'm sorry, I'm probably over on
Can I just answer that one about the rate increases? The rate increases cannot come into play because of the allotment act for an 18-month period. It's long historical records. Whoever's told you that is not true. We accept the price rises in the spring of each year for the following cycle.
We're going to be.
And I don't really want to go into the details.
We're going to be discussing allotments.
Can I just pass Mr Charles with this, because on the bottom that is the threat. Let me read it to you all. It says, this matter will be discussed at a town council meeting, and this may result in an increase in the allotment rates. They are Mr Charlesworth.
Could I just ask a question?
We're not your enemies.
No.
We want to work with you, but we
I-
feel that we're under terrible suspicion.
I never
Can I
said
just-
story going out.
Can I,
And it is really awful.
Keith?
can I just
I don't
ask one
recognise that.
question of Chris? Right? I mean,
It was nailed to the allotment notice board. That's why it's
what-
difficult to get it on.
what I'd like to ask Chris is,
Yeah.
what's Derby Road like?
Derby Road's come in, and the lady is quite right, it has changed to Water Plus, and the bill went straight through, no problem. The reason they've told us that the bill for Dovecot is because there's a problem with the amount of usage, and they're querying it. And so it may be, but can I answer please? It may be that there's a leakage in the system.
There isn't.
But until we get the information from them, so we can compare theirs with yours, we're in no man's land.
No.
Charlie?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. It's not very often that I'm ashamed to be a member of this council, but this has been handled so cack-handedly that we deserve a good kicking for it. Those figures, whoever put them on the notice board, should never have been placed there until we got solid figures from 7-20. Until we got a proper bill.
Thank you, John.
And I think they've done the allotment holders wrong. And they deserve an apology for every one of us tonight. And now let's put this to bed by getting a meeting called just as soon as we get those figures.
That's what we're going to do. That is on the agenda.
Give everybody that arrives as much time as they want to talk about this. Because they're our tenants, don't forget. They're not just somebody that comes into the council.
Nobody's here said any different.
As a giant.
Nobody's said any different. I've not argued with the lady.
They're
I've not
important.
argued with the gentleman. All I've said is let us get the information. We'll have a meeting in here. You're all welcome. You're all welcome. And let's put it to bed. I don't want to fall out with you. I'm not here to fall
I'm
out
not
with
here
you.
to fall out with you, Mr. Mayor, but
But
we must be
we want to do it
you must
properly.
believe us that we are giving you the facts. We're not pulling the wool over anybody's eyes.
We've
here.
not said you aren't.
Mr. Chairman.
But we feel as if we are.
Well, we aren't. We aren't. We want to sort it. We need to sort it.
How can we be accused of using 240% more water when it's proven that we've
Because that's
used
what
the least amount of water that we have for the last 5 years? The bill can't be any more than it has been for the last 5 years.
We can only act on what the information we're given from the water company. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I did have a meeting with these two here, Helen and David, and it was agreed at that meeting that we would wait until this bill arrived. It was agreed. I put it in writing, and I also reaffirmed that we'll have this meeting as soon as we possibly can, and we wouldn't discuss it tonight. We'll sort it out and not make it an open agenda. We'll sort it out amongst ourselves.
Which so it should be. It shouldn't be an open agenda.
I think we moved on, we need to move on.
Yeah,
Time
I
is
was
very
speaking
good.
at one time, and I think,
I'll find out.
quite honestly, this is a kick in the pants to us, because quite honestly, we don't want to be doing things like this ever again to any organisation in this town. We're supposed to be working for the town, not against them. And to post a notice that says you're 241% over the top on your water this year, without hard facts and figures, is entirely wrong. And I'm going to apologise to you for the council myself, and I'm sorry that it's happened to you.
As soon as we get the information, we'll arrange this meeting.
See, not only are you councillors, you should also be consultants. And there's an element here that seems to me that you're moving towards it.
No, sorry.
Now, we're going to meet me down the allotment tomorrow and look at the reading yourself. Because when that water is not being used by allotment holders, that meter is static. We have got no undiscovered leak.
Please, can we just, I want to stop this now. Let's get the facts together so we can have a constructive, non-argument meeting so we can put this to bed once and for all.
That's fair enough.
We'll get back to
But
the
it's
tape.
strange that the allotment holders know the facts and you don't.
Mr. Mayor, can I finish off with this and give an apology from myself? I was totally unaware of that, and I wouldn't have stopped it if it was known. I apologise to the development holders that should never have gone up until we got the facts, and that's all what we need to wait for, the facts. So can we stop the fact as regards?
Stop that now. Got it moving. Okay. Anything else? Oh,
On a positive note.
Thank God for that.
I'm pleased with every ethics, and I just say thank you for your help and support to Council and Towns for
Okay.
the Dementia Friends session on Saturday, and to all your other colleagues that helped. And big thank you to those that came along on the day. Thank you very much. Really do appreciate it. Thank you.
It was a nice success, wasn't it? Or good success, not nice success, good success. I hope we can have another one.
Yes, it was very interesting, very informative.
Mr. Farrell.
You said to come down and be brief. I've got one or two questions to ask you. So if you'll answer me yes or no, that will put it down a bit more. A rule was passed probably 2 or 3 years ago before you became the party majority. It regarded the way that you treated people that came into the council chambers with a request or a problem or wanted something sorted out. And it was decided that if it did affect the people, the public and the councillors, it would be sent to each individual councillor by email. Can you tell me if that's correct, Mr. Clegg, yes or no?
That was talked about.
Pardon?
That was talked about, Mr. Fretlow, yes.
That was past 15 minutes. That we would pass it on so all the 15 councillors would know the questions. Have you got 2 questions on the table for me tonight, sir? Mr. Clerk?
I haven't
Mr.
got,
Clerk?
no, I haven't got no questions. No.
You've got no questions, right. I'll go back to about 6 weeks ago. I came into the council chambers, and at the door I was met by the mayor and the young lady. Now straight away the mayor put his hand up and said, I can't do anything for you today, we've got a bit of a problem. Is that correct, Mr. Mayor? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. So I said, well, I said I wouldn't come because you asked me that previously I'd been coming into the council chambers and the clerk was busy at the time, so would I come back by answering the telephone and asking the questions there and then? You didn't know about that, Mr. Mayor, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Right, so when I stand at the door, I can't come in, I said, well, the main thing I've come for is a form. I can't get that over the phone, I don't want it posted because I've got 2 number 2s on my street and it's been going to the wrong address. So the young lady straight away says, Brian, I'll get you that form you want. Correct, Mr. Mayor?
That is correct.
Thank you. Right, then I asked her, just as I was about to leave, do you take messages off the answer phone, my dear? She said, yes, Brian, I took yours off. I passed them to you, Mr. Mayor. But I don't think you're going to get them answered. Was that correct, Mr. Mayor?
I can't recall that.
You can't recall that? Well, let me ask this to you. You can't remember us saying that there was some on the answer machine?
The conversation went on.
It didn't go on only for that?
Yeah, and your point is, sir?
You got it. You can understand then that you got the questions, but you didn't answer them. So that's one outlet. I can't come in to see the clerk. I can't put them on the answer phone. So I'm left with one alternative, sir. To use the phone and directly come to the clerk, which I did a week later. Is that correct, Mr. Clerk? Did I come to you with 2 questions to ask of the council?
The only one that I can remember about was this book you're doing and you wanted an article doing.
Did I come to you with
That's
2
what I just
questions?
described. That's what I'm describing. You came in and you wanted...
I didn't come in, sir. I talked to you on the phone. Is that correct?
I don't remember it being on the phone. I spoke to you about it. I saw you eyeball to eyeball and you said that you wanted an article written up for a new book you're doing. That's all I know about it.
Correct. Well, that was on the phone. I didn't come in. So, I've not had any replies to any of these questions, sir. Now, can you tell me, I've got a question here, I've got written down here, a grudge. Do you know what a grudge is? Do you know what a grudge is? Sir, yes or no? Yes? Do you know what discrimination is? Yes? Do you know what democracy is?
Yeah.
You know all them things. Yet, you have been given, asked by 15 councillors to pass on to the rest of the council here questions from the members of the public. And you have not done it. Why, sir? Can you tell me why you haven't passed these questions on for the rest of the public? Now, I've asked questions of the opposition about things that's happening in Eastwood. They ain't got a clue, you say. We're not told anything. Oh, yes. This is getting really, really ridiculous. To say that people are trying to help this town, and you are trying, all you can do is to stop it. I have never asked for anything from this council that has made any discriminations against anyone. We are trying to help the people of this town, and you are trying to stop this happening. You give me a correct answer, so why haven't you answered these questions? And I will get this young lady in here next month that said to you that she took them off and given to you these questions, and she didn't think you was going to reply to them. Now, what answers are you going to give me now? You've been told what you've got to do by passing by all the councils. Now are you doing it?
You, as far as your book thing is concerned, you came to me personally, you and a lady friend of yours, and we sat out there. You asked me personally to do that. Can you remember that?
To make the person do what, sir?
To write an article about this place.
Correct, sir. Yes. Have you done it?
I'm in the process of doing it.
When was the date line?
I don't know.
I'll give you April would have come.
April
Anyway,
it
it's not
is.
on the date line, but yes, we'd like you to do it. We've asked you to do it. But why don't you let all the rest of the people in the council, they don't know what's happening in this town. I'm sorry, but I asked one councillor, what about the bike ride? What are you doing? Oh, I ain't got a clue. What are you doing about Pentridge? Ain't got a clue. Now, we should have had an answer about Pentridge at the last meeting. But the young lady didn't turn up, and I don't think she's here tonight. So, I'm sorry, sir. I haven't got much faith at the moment. And we're getting a few other complaints even from the council and asking us things.
Okay. Can I get an answer about the bike ride? Basically, it was going to be run by the county council and Broxtowe Borough Council. We then got a situation where Broxtowe pulled out of it. So we were in a situation, we didn't know what we were doing. We then spoke to the county council and they gave us rich information, but we didn't get much at all. So we couldn't report much because basically at that time, we didn't know what was going on.
And the reason there was such a lot of children at that event was because I organised it with all the schools.
That's right, we got kids out, didn't we?
I can go back on events. The Queen's Jubilee we had 60 years, the Pentridge we had 200 years, the bike ride we must have had 18 months. And we've left it till the last week, and then what have we done? If you go up to Greece, have you seen what they do?
What, 3 bikes? Were you actually here on that day?
Oh.
Were you actually in Eastwood Town Centre?
I went to Eastwood, yes, to see what was happening, and I
Were you
carried
actually-
on up to Greasley, sir.
Were you actually at the Hollies now outside the co-op?
I went by.
When the bikes all went through?
Oh no, I've only been one place.
Well, how can you comment to know what we did, what we didn't do? If
Well,
you were
when I
here?
went through, there was no yellow bikes lined up or anything
No.
else. They was at Greasley.
No.
Loads of flags.
We had
And I
one
wasn't
flags
here.
with all the
Yeah.
children,
Yeah.
3 or 4 of them holding different
Yeah.
countries' flags.
Yeah.
And that's what we
Yeah.
organised,
That's right.
and that's what we did.
Yeah, understood.
Am I correct, Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Griffin? Because you saw it, you walked through. We had a load of little flags, what we got from Evo. They were all handed out to the kids.
And also,
We stood out here on the railings here, and what do we have out here, Bob? We had Eastwood Town flags, yeah, draped over the railings.
And what's
When I
the
came
reason?
through, there was nothing.
You saw was doing the prep, didn't you? You came.
I was saying, there should have been, if it came to fruition, because I wasn't here, so I don't know. There should have been 700 kids on
There was children in the Hollies, there was children outside the co-op, opposite each other. There was children up at Greasley and Hilltop, and there was children all standing around the sun.
that's right.
Very good, sir. Can you just tell me one thing? Are you abiding by the rule that was made in this council that all these councillors get to know when something that involves them all the time, they're going to get an email, which was stated? Is that correct, Mr. Woodhead? Well, can you tell me about this being passed to all you people by email, whatever was sent through the council if it involved the people?
When I was the mayor, you raised that question when I was the mayor, and I said it wouldn't happen again, that all councils would be informed on all letters and notices that came into the council, and that was agreed by the whole council.
As far as I'm aware, apart from your two questions, one was directed personally to me, not to everybody. One of your questions was directed personally to me, which I said to you I would do. I am looking into it, I am doing it. There's definitely a time factor. We are doing that wherever possible. You can ask that young lady stand there. What did we do for her on Saturday? Exactly. And I emailed every councillor. So everybody knows what we are doing, what we're trying to know. We're not going to pick up every single thing out.
I did ask you when you first took office on the first night if you'd come out and have half an hour with me in my dwelling, because we've got quite a few things to bring up that we're going to do for the council. Now, you're not the first one I've asked, but you're the first one that's refused.
Oh, at least he was honest.
Could I just point out, mate, Mr. Fretwell brought up nothing was done about the Penn Street Smart. At the last meeting, it was in there that, and a gentleman came and he gave us an update, and he was requesting that we donate, if possible, to a plaque. So, as Mr. Fretwell attended this meeting, he knew what happened about the Penn Street Smart.
Yeah, there was supposed to be a young lady come and tell us what's happening, Mr. Hamilton.
There was a lady came once, and then that chap came last time.
Okay, right, we're running out of time. Is there any other questions on the topic? Okay, thank you, we'll move on. Planning, July and August 2017.
I'm saddened by one of them, but an ex-council tenant should be making me out of his garden. Yeah. I think it's wrong.
It's not finished yet.
Right, so noted. Item 10, reports and questions.
Can I start the meeting by pointing out that there is errors in payment, income and expenditure. We as a council, 2 meetings ago, the last meeting I wasn't here, or it might have been a bit longer than that, we wired certain money across from one account to another account. That has not been done. So that was the question that I phoned up the office and found out I couldn't raise. In due time, like you saw, Charlie, the situation is that we have one member off on sick. That money was wired out on reserves to cover that. It was an unexpected expenditure. And we buy other monies to cover other employment costs. I don't go into detail in open council, but it does make the percentages of GIA totally inaccurate. If you want to do more detail, we'll do. There has been a change on our side as regards the person looking after overseeing the finance and taking it back on. This was notified to councillors earlier today by email, and prior to the meeting we've had the financial new banking arrangements that have been put forward by the RFO. We are totally rejecting them. We have lost patience with our bank, National Westminster, and would be proposing tonight to change our bank to the TSB. As it looks like the TSB being the only bank in Eastwood left. This will create charges, but at the end of the day we need a bank that actually performs. It takes anything up to 6 months to get signatures altered, which should be done in a matter of weeks. There is a scenario where our bank accounts got mixed up with other bank accounts and put side by side. Once again, this is for closed session. That should have been rectified before the RFO went on holiday. We've been trying for 2 years to do this. We've had promises after promises. They have not delivered. So I'm going to formally move tonight that our new bankers is the TSB and put it in order for the switch to happen as soon as possible. We need a bank that actually works for us.
I'm not going to leave Eastwood.
Yes.
Johnny?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I read this, I was a little nonplussed because I thought, well, that means we don't have to attend meetings because as far as the other side's concerned, the opposition don't mean anything. Our vote is no good because we went out and voted every time.
Exactly.
And the way this was worded was, TSB Bank will become, as a majority group have lost all confidence in NatWest. Well, surely that should have come before us tonight as a recommendation, rather than what appears to be a fait accompli.
Fait accompli, totally agree.
I think it's entirely wrong that the opposition should be treated this way. I don't think I've ever been ridden over roughshod by a leading party before, and I've served in the Conservative administrations who argued like cat and dog in a chamber and went for a pint together afterwards. You couldn't do that here.
You're quite welcome to buy me a pint any time.
I don't drink.
Well, I do.
It's wrong.
Is that?
Well, I do drink. I'm quite happy.
TSB will become it.
Is there anyone around the council who'd like to give NatWest another chance?
No. No point if you do it and then you do it.
I don't wish to, but I mean, I certainly wasn't happy with the way this was.
No,
So
I mean, I'm quite in agree with Charlie. It says the TSB Bank will become the council banker. That's not. It is proposed that the TSB should become, and in this it's will become. We are the majority, or do as you tell us. So what's the point of us turning up? I totally agree with him. You need to get something sorted out. All these letters are becoming, not only making allotment holders angry, you're making councillors angry. You're getting us in a situation where we don't want to be. And whoever's done it, as I said early on, you need to take some action against them because it's all wrong.
I need to be here for the next 6-7 months anyway. I've only had my 6 months sabbatical so far.
Can I have a seconder for that full proposal?
I'll second.
If you're going to propose that and we do it properly, then, you know.
All in favour?
Can I say the TSB, as far as Eastwood goes, is also called the Bank of England, and quite right.
Again?
It's their only bank left.
So we now go through the payment schedules for both months. Income and expenditure, I would like them to lay on the table and be represented at the next month for approval when they are right. Would the council accept that?
Well, I'd like to make a comment on them.
Yes,
if I
please
may.
do.
On the second month 5, I think it is, if we've got the right one in the hand. Yeah. We took on a caretaker a while back. Caretaker a while back. It was agreed by this council that he should do 12 hours a week.
Yeah.
Basically preparing the room for meetings when other organisations were coming in, opening up for them and locking the door.
Yeah.
He told us he wanted 16 so he could claim some sort of assistance for this, but we said no, it will be 12. Now if you look at these figures, On last month alone, if it was a 5-week month, he was doing 20 odd hours. And on a 4-week month, he was doing, on a 5-week month he was doing 18 hours, and on a 4-week month he was doing 24. That's a lot more than the 12 that we said. And I came round here the other day and I saw someone up a ladder. I've never seen the guy before. I presume to be the caretaker, who was fixing lights at 11 o'clock in the morning. It's not his job.
Actually, can I correct you there, Charlie?
Thank you.
That he was taken on as maintenance as well.
Well, he was taken on originally as a caretaker, just to...
Caretaker, stroke.
I'm clean. But why are we giving him so many hours a week? Yeah. Why? Is what I want to know. I mean, his every wish seems to be our command. And it shouldn't be. You know, he's the piper. We're not the pipers. And he should be playing to our tune because we pay him.
I agree with that.
And so, therefore, can we look into cutting his actual time to 12 hours a week and not the exorbitant overtime he seems to be getting? Because on the budget we had for him, it was caretaker.
That is, Charlie, that is one of the major things that's
Yeah.
showing wrong.
Yeah, well,
Percentages, so
Absolutely.
He's only got a quarter of the budget left. You know, where are we going to get money from paying?
It was supposed to be paid out of the hire and the hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's that again. He's true, but he's also doing maintenance work. Maintenance work that either Bob Charles or myself would have to do.
We've expanded his
contract of employment, which went was caretaker stroke maintenance.
It was caretaker
stroke maintenance.
I'll ask the question with these. I say, what's he doing fitting floodlight? Has he had to go into some electricity supply to fit them? Has he had to take a spare off another electric socket to fit it? And yeah, sorry, carry on.
You carry on.
And has he licensed it?
Is he qualified?
Well, he has to do. If he's sparing off, he has to license it. Up to you.
He was doing the work that either Bob or myself would have had to do. We need to put security lights at the back due to the gates are no longer locked. They are open, so we need to put security lights at the back, not only for ourselves, our staff, and for the police. So we need to put security lights out there. It was either the thing that either Bob or myself would have had to have done. I was assisting him, as you know, Charlie, because he spoke to me, and that's what he was doing.
Yeah, but that's
I would like to see
that's not the question. The question was where's he picked up the power from? Has he had to spare off an electricity point?
I can answer that question. I'd already arranged with Bramley that there was wires stashed ready for those floodlights when the building was originally wired up. Terminated in temporary manner up in the roof, ready for joining on. Did that because at that time we realised we needed emergency lights and outside lighting sometime around the back. So the cables were brought in and it was safely terminated, ready for joining entry.
Bob, that's all I'm asking.
So I've answered
End of, you've answered it. That's all we're asking. That's all we're asking him.
So can I formally move the payment schedules for both months and lay on the table the income and expenditure?
I'll second.
All in favour?
Right,
You've done that tree.
coming up now to the time when we have to prepare for the Remembrance Day Parade. We've gone out for a tender and we contact all councillors to inform them that the date we're going to open the tenders. And we only got 2 back rather than the 3 that we went for. And the tenders have been received, and the one that got the cheapest has been appointed. It's someone that we've used for 2 years now, and they've provided us with an excellent job. And so they've been actually appointed to do the traffic management at the Remembrance Day Parade. They will be working with Councillor Charlesworth, and the police will only have a link in as much as they'll be doing civic duties. They won't be involved in the Remembrance Day Parade. And that updates you on the documents.
The situation now is the police can't close the road for a scheduled event like Remembrance Sunday. It has to be another body. We've done this in the last couple of years, and the police will only react to an incident. So we did put enough police on, and I suspect they will do again this year.
Yeah.
But the situation is that I have one of the policemen standing close to me on the radio, and if I hear an incident, I immediately ask then the police to, can you please assist the councillor at such a location if there is an incident, and that's sidesteps the closure order, and the police do what they're there to do. Any incidents, they all support the road closure. So we've done a huge waft of paperwork to county today, rather to the new company. It's not county any longer, it's there via here.
Not going to spelling on that, shall we?
Can I, as that is finished, on that particular day, we are going to need volunteers.
We are.
Please, any member of the public would like to come along, any councillor would like to come along, sit down on a road marshal, to stop traffic coming into that. So if anybody would like to volunteer, just put your names forward, please. We'll go from that.
Yeah. Relies on coming here around about 9:20, something like that, for a briefing, and then getting your radios and your high-res and being instructed what you can do and what you can't do.
Yep, anyway, everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Item 11, status reports from the town council, not covered in item 10. That.
No working.
No working. Oh yeah. If you remember, councillors, in March we did a risk assessment. One thing that we were concerned about was low working. We came back to the last meeting, we'd only been able to get 1 quote. So we've now come back with a further quote. We now hope that we're in a position where you'll be able to agree a quote so that we can get on with carrying out the low working. We couldn't get a third quote. We have tried to get 1. We have tried to get 3 quotes, but it gets very difficult. People just like quotes, and we've got 2 quotes for you now, so you've got an idea of the price.
Yeah, I think you'll all remember that I've been really pushing this for a long while. And when I come to read it, TXRX, pendulum, it's not really good if your low worker is on the floor unconscious. So I've always said that we need a tilt switch, because once that goes bang, it sets the alarm off through the transmitted receiver TXRX. What's the point well, there may be some point in having this as a pendulum in case she gets hassled, but what happens if whoever is working on their own and renders themselves unconscious for whatever reason, whether it be a heart attack, who knows? And we would not have any idea that that had happened. That's why I've always been saying we do need a tilt switch permanently for someone that's working on their own.
happen to be, I've been there 14 years for Chubb, they have tilt alarms for Chubb for that reason, in case somebody does have a heart attack. Or somebody just comes in behind, and on a few occasions I did have it at Chubb, where they had been knocked out, and the only reason we knew that was because the tilt alarm had gone off. Had it been an ordinary PA, unless you could press the button or...
We can't do
yeah, you can't.
Totally agree. So I think we should, yeah, well, we should at least ask to make sure that we have the facility to make sure that we know what's happening to all our own workers.
With that in mind, we don't want it going on and on and on because there's a safety issue.
Absolutely.
In order that we can do it, if we pick one of the suppliers and order on the condition that it's got a tilt switch.
It's a separate bit of it.
No, independent.
Yeah. I don't think it'd be the best.
No.
But yeah, I'm listening.
I'm just trying to get a way forward, that we get it done, that we actually go ahead and order this from the lower of the two ones, £360 included. That there is money, I believe, in the office equipment that we could carry that cost. So it's coming out of a budget heading. But that only to go ahead if the tilt switch is included in that. So if it takes us to tilt switch, we have to come back, otherwise it goes ahead.
They need to be fitted simultaneously, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay, after that.
I'm formally moving that.
Yeah.
Second that.
Yeah, I'll say that.
All in favour?
Now I'm going for the lower of the two contractors.
With the crime rates going high, who was shouting very quickly.
Right, the next one, here again we discussed this matter at the last meeting. At that time we just got the one quote. We had considerable difficulty trying to get further quotes. And it became urgent that we had to do this job because we had a tenant moving in up front there and he couldn't use the toilets and wash facilities. We did try and get 2 more quotes, and unfortunately they didn't come back either. So I sent a letter to every councillor explaining that we were going to carry out this work, because obviously I've only got delegated power to £500. And this was actually 1,048, and I keep pointing it out to you that this work had to be done. We now would like councillors to be in agreement whereby we can formalise this and accept that what the work that was done.
Tony, could you just come in there? Tony, please.
Yeah,
you were
right. I went to have a look at this job, and I was said to Dave I could do this job, no problem. What would I have charged? I would have charged a lot more than that. That's me personally, because I don't know what's under there. Straight away, I'm hitting 6 foot of concrete, I'm hitting 3 foot of concrete, you know. I just don't know what I'm hitting, so I'm going to make sure I'm covered. So if I'm there 2 days, I want more than that. So I rung somebody, because I couldn't come and do it. I'm not going to tell you the name. He came up, and I turned around, could you get this done for me? Right. And he turned around, I told him what you're looking at, and I told him what the price I was doing, and he said I'd want a lot more than that. Well, I knew when I seen the £1,000, there was no way that, you know, obviously I wouldn't have done it for money because I can't, because I'm on the council. I would have done it for no. Do you know what I mean? I'm just saying, in theory, if I wasn't on the council, I would have done it for more. But honestly, you've done very well with that price there, because he got lucky. He didn't hit a lot of problems. He only got that much concrete. He was very lucky boy.
So you made your own look, mate.
I don't know, but that's in fairness, that was a good price what you got there.
Yeah, we're not arguing about that. I think that's job done.
So we propose and second that, please.
Thank you very much, councillors. We all agree. Okay, thank you very much. Cheers. And then the next one is regarding some extra chairs that we had to buy. If you remember, we reported that we are going to be, through Notts County Council, we are going to be doing weddings from this particular venture. And basically, it was decided that we needed to have 75 chairs to be able to move it forward. So, here again, I wrote a letter to your councillors explaining the situation, and we have to get these chairs as soon as possible. And we're only going to be paying half of the cost of the invoice, but we've also been able to via £500 from the same we made on gas. So the actual cost of these chairs is going to be considerably cheaper. Councillor Bagshore, you're sitting on one of the new chairs. They are the new chairs. And basically, here again, we just really want to have the agreement. The actions that we've undertaken, you will agree to it.
Yeah. 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 Propose it. Keith. Keith proposes it. All in favour?
Thank you, councillors. We then go on to the garden service update report. This would be for the second visit. We're fast approaching the third and last visit. You've got the full report there and the costs involved. I just hope you can note the report, councillors.
Yeah, noted.
That concludes item 11. Item 12, questions to the leader of the majority group.
It's your role, eh?
Yeah.
Is he a lot better?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's one I was going to ask Bob last meeting, but it would appear that a member of our band of 15 has now taken allegiance with the Conservative Party, delivering leaflets, etc. for them. And as such, will the council, the formation of the council be changed from so many independents, one Conservative, so many Lib Dems, and will this affect the committee structure?
The present moment, I don't believe, unless the clerk got this wrong, there's been no notification of a change of allegiance from the present. Correct me if I'm wrong, which is 4-2. It's 2 members of the Labour group, 4 independents. And at such time as that happens, well, that individual wishes to draw it, that is a matter for them, not for me.
Thank you.
Committee structure would alter slightly, but we, at the present moment, the committee structure is that it's 3-2, and the 2 we leave for collectively the 6 to arrange between themselves who goes forward.
Do you think we should have clarification on that then, on the issue, to make sure that we know where we're at? What I saw is somebody lauding the Conservative leader and the appropriate guy for Notts County Council, Conservative.
Whichever one, at one point, I believe that you was classed as an independent because of the clerical problem. It's up to each member to declare what party they belong. It's not a matter for me, it's for those members. If they wish to carry on as an independent, that's fine. The committee structure is the majority group take 3 places and 2 are left for all the opposition, and it's for the opposition to work out between themselves which takes on what committee. We've only got one committee.
Can I just say, point at me and telling me that I've been an independent? I am not an independent. I've never been an independent. I'm now a Labour Party member, and I've been for more years than I can remember.
Yes, I believe you was a member, but you...
Whether it was a clerical error or not, that's your concern.
I do believe the rules are that if your party is not standing, you can help anybody you meet.
I think it's quite nice, I suppose, to see cooperation, I suppose. I think.
Okay, that's enough of that, I think.
Yeah,
So whether you want any more questions for the leader? Okay, so we'll move on. Item 13, neighbourhood plan update.
I've started reading all the items that come from all individuals. I've made that into a spreadsheet, so and then I've read them again on each of the topics, because most people were writing about a particular site, and now I am going into a redraft mode over the sites that's needed in Eastwood. I've also had a copy of the Greasley neighbourhood plan and their backing documents, which shows how many properties they intend to build in Greasley. At the second stage of drafting, I'm taking main weight of evidence from the people of Eastwood, but I shan't be challenging any of the Greasley figures. I'm hoping that Greasley won't challenge the Eastwood figures. So I'm taking the Greasley figures as set, which means now we can go into some more detail on what is required in the Eastwood area, but there has been additional houses that have been had planning permission whilst this process is going on. I keep putting them off. Every 1 and 2s that you get built, actually 1 or 2 of our total that has produced in the whole of the Greasley and Eastwood area. So as properties get passed, I'm adding them into the totals. And concentrating down on probably now less than half a dozen sites. When I've got detail, I'll push it out to all council.
A question through the chair. Has this neighbourhood plan yet been presented or submitted to Broxtowe?
No.
What's the deadline?
The deadline is for us to do a redraft, taking into consideration of what the comments was from the people of Eastwood, all comments we had. Once we've decided with the redraft, that's the point we put in the Broxtowe. I would hope by the end of this year.
Have they give you a deadline?
They haven't given us a deadline. The deadline is when we get it done.
Okay.
Which is a good job for some other people, because they haven't even started them.
I am
Not really what about that, it's just in these. Okay, fine.
I think that's why Broxtowe haven't given us such
I
deadlines.
will be calling the meeting councillors to the working parties in the near future. That'll be open to any council.
Any questions on the neighbourhood plan? No. Update? No. Right, excludes the public and press under section 108 of the Government Act 1972. The public and press is excluded from the meeting for the following items: business on grounds they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 1 and 9 of Schedule 12A of the Act.
Thank you everybody for letting us sit in.
Thank you.